Hi, this weekend I watched what I consider to be the big film for Christmas, Wake Up Dead Man, the latest Benoit Blanc mystery written and directed by Rian Johnson and starring Daniel Craig as the last of the gentleman detectives, following on from his previous hits Knives Out and Netflix's Glass Onion. This film too is a Netflix exclusive, although it's apparently had a small theatrical release. And it's much darker and more serious in tone than the previous movies. There's another murder mystery, about which I won't go into details, but it's based around a church. It's based around various church-going characters played by a range of fantastic character performers like Josh O'Connor, Glenn Close, Jeremy Renner, Daryl McCormack, Cailee Spaeny, Josh Brolin, an incredible cast, Thomas Haden Church, just an absolute murderer's row. And in the middle of this all, we have Benoit Blanc coming in, assisting Police Chief Mila Kunis with the investigation of a seemingly impossible murder. I found it disappointing, and this is after naming Knives Out as my favourite film of 2019 and Glass Onion as one of my favourite films of 2022. This one is not going to make my top 10 because it felt a bit too much like Johnson is working through personal issues. He is apparently grew up very religious, has lapsed away from that a long time ago, and is really thinking through his positions with this movie, really working through his position as a lapsed Christian. But the biggest problem, I feel, is that it simply doesn't have the wit and the lightness of the two previous movies, where those movies were skewering old money or the disruptor biosphere. Here it's looking at religion, control. There's a very obvious analogue to politics in catering to people's worst impulses and keeping them close. It's quite obvious in its analogies, but that obviousness is never leavened by humour. That's what worked so well in the two previous movies, that they were genuinely funny, and the comedy balanced out any kind of heavy-handedness in the subtext, or it would just be used to underline it, and it worked so nicely, and it was such a delicate balancing act, and I was really impressed that he pulled it off again with Glass Onion. But with Wake Up Dead Man, the comedy isn't there. There's very slight moments of humour, but it never really lands. It never really works. The tone is too dark, too downbeat, too gothic to really work in a humorous context. And the result is a film that feels too complicated, too overlong, and it just doesn't, it never gels. The comedy was such an important gelling agent, for want of a better term, in terms of keeping everything flowing, everything solid. It was the sugar that helped the pill go down, and here it's just pills. The result is something really quite disappointing. It's again very well directed. There is some elegance in the construction of it. I'm obviously speaking very broadly in order to avoid any spoilers. I went into the movie not even knowing who the murder victim was. So I'm trying to extend that to you, dear viewer. The result, though, is it's a disappointing movie, and it's a big misstep from Johnson. Hopefully it does well enough that a fourth film will be forthcoming, and it might be a bit of a change of pace, something a bit lighter, because I really do feel that the comedy is crucial in the Benoit Blanc mysteries, that you need that to balance out the political messaging. And here it just feels unbalanced and too dark, and the mix is all wrong. So, a great shame.